I'm a child of the 90s. In fact, I was born in 1990. So that means that the 2000s for me were my peak teenage years. I get very nostalgic seeing all the Y2K trends coming back, like carrying a digital camera with you or wearing low-cut jeans, because all of those things I did unironically. I lived the best and the worst of those years. And one of the things I remember the most right now in my 30s is the makeup. Those of us who grew up in this era didn't have YouTube or social media to help us. We had no idea what color analysis or color theory was, what finish our skin needed, or how to do makeup for the shape of your face or your eyes or anything. We had none of that. Instead, we had whatever was shiniest at the drugstore makeup aisles, or whatever your friends or teenage magazines were recommending, or whatever you could sneak out of your mum's makeup bag. This means that 9 times out of 10, you are wearing something very unflattering, but we wore it with a lot of pride. And according to my YouTube analytics, a good chunk of you are over 30 years old, so I'm sure that you know exactly what I'm talking about. So in honor of spooky season, I thought we would take a trip down memory lane and revisit some of those terrifying products and trends that basically shaped my teenage years in the 2000s. Also, before you say anything, I'm very well aware that I need to cut my fringe, but I haven't had the time. And I had to choose whether to film or cut my fringe now, and I chose to film. So if this is annoying to you, imagine how annoying it is to me that it's, getting into my eye. But we have to live with it. I'm sorry. I'm going to start strong with something that was very, very big during my high school years, and maybe even earlier than that. And that is the Maybelline Dream Matte Mousse. The name probably sends shivers down your spine because I'm sure that if you are anywhere over 30 or maybe even younger, I don't know how long that's been discontinued, but if you're over 30, there is a very big chance that one of your first foundations was the Dream Matte Mousse. And there's also a very big chance that it didn't match you at all. This product was described as a lightweight, full coverage foundation. And I remember it was so weird. Like, I can still smell it right now. Drugstore makeup has upped their game a lot, but back in the 2000s, they were not that good. And the smell is just very pungent and very artificial. And I can still smell the Dream Matte Mousse. And I can feel the texture. Like, it's so strange. I actually bought this foundation when I had no idea how to use foundation, just purely because everyone had it. All of my friends had it. It was everywhere in every drugstore that you went to. And I think that we all fell into the trap of this being like the foundation for us. But it was so horrible. So I grew up in Spain. I still live in Spain, where the color selection in makeup is not that great. I have quite pale skin, so I struggled a lot to find shades that were light enough. I would say that it's a little bit better now, but still the lightest shades tend to be very yellow and a little too dark. And don't even get me started on the deeper shades, like they are non-existent. But back in the 2000s, it was even worse. There was like nothing there. There were like 4 shades, and all of them were yellow and orange. And I have the feeling that I bought the lightest one, and it was still like 4 shades too dark for me and way too orange. And I thought I would make it work by just using a little bit. Didn't work. I looked orange. I would walk around with like a line here, or I would take it down to my neck, and then my chest would be all white, and then the rest of my face would be orange. It was bad. It was really bad. But I have a feeling that none of my friends, even my friends who have darker skin than me, none of them made it work either. I think we all just looked orange and wrong. And if there's one thing that I really remember about this product is how disgusting it would get. It was very, very disgusting to work with because it was a little jar, and you would either put a sponge in or a brush in, or you would go in with your hands, which is what we all did. And we just kind of like grab that and slather on our faces. So that meant that the packaging would get really, really disgusting by, like the third use. And it was just, it was disgusting. It was so bad. I can't believe that I would put that on my face. I was a teenager. I didn't understand about bacteria and how you had to thoroughly wash your hands if you're going to apply makeup with your hands and everything. I would just go for it. I would just open the thing, put it on my face, and it was probably breaking me out. But at that point, I had so much acne that I don't think that the foundation was making that much of a difference. I'm sure that this is the product that everybody in the comments is going to say that they had, because I don't know how many millions of units they would sell. The marketing must have been amazing. I'm not sure if it's available in any countries. It's gone in Spain, like it disappeared years ago, but I'm not sure if it's gone everywhere. Let me know if it's still a thing in your country because I kind of want to get my hands on one and like revisit it. I don't know. I'm sure the formula, if it still exists, I'm sure the formula has changed, but yeah, let me know because this is one I remember very fondly because of how bad it was. But it's definitely like the core of my makeup when I was a teenager. And the next product is also one that shaped my makeup routine as a teenager, and it's the Bourjois chocolate bronzer. Again, this is probably not something in every single country, but in Spain and in France, because Bourjois is French, but in Spain, Bourjois was huge, and the chocolate bronzer was something that everybody had. And still today, I can remember the smell. It smelled so freaking good. It's like I get a whiff of something similar and my brain just goes to the chocolate bronzer. It was beautiful. It smelled amazing, but the shade was horrible on me. Bronzers in general don't look good on me, and I think the drugstores have also upped their game when it comes to bronzers for fair skin or cool tone skin. But the Bourjois chocolate bronzer was not one of them. It was muddy as hell, and it also had a horrible packaging. It came in a little cardboard box, and when it had been open for a while, it would get hard pan like crazy. You had to like scratch off the top. Um, because it hard panned really easily, and also putting your brush in wasn't helping, obviously, with all the oils. But I remember that everyone would get hard pan on their chocolate bronzer. I remember it fondly because I really love the smell, but at the same time, it was such a difficult product to work with and it looked so bad on me. And I forced myself to use it because all of my friends were using it. So I was like, why are they using it and I'm not using it? I should be using it too. And this is going to make me look good. It didn't. It looked horrible on me because I don't suit bronzer very well. I only suit certain types of bronzers, which with the years I've discovered that, they have to be a certain undertone and everything. But that wasn't a thing back then. Like I said, we were going in blind. We were just trusting our friends on the magazines. Like we had no other criteria to choose makeup. They've been discontinued for years as well, but I would love to get my hands on one just for the smell. I remember I found one I don't know, must have been like 6 or 7 years ago at my parents' house. It still smelled of that artificial chocolate smell. It brought back all of these memories, but it was just such a beautiful feeling. But the product itself was not very good. Next is not a product, but more of a trend, and that was frosted lips. I feel that this was quite big in the 2000s. It was big in the 90s, but it kind of transitioned into the 2000s with frosted lip gloss as well. I remember I saw a photo a couple years back where I was wearing some kind of lip gloss lipstick hybrid that was frosted and I looked ridiculous. But even now when I look at photos of frosted lips, like in from certain celebrities wearing them, because all of the 2000s stuff is coming back, I hate them. I hate them so much. I don't think they look good on anyone. I'm so sorry if you love frosted lips. I'm so sorry. I just hate them. I just do not think they look good. I kind of hate that that trend is kind of coming back a little bit. I see a lot of people, especially younger people, who are now adopting a lot of the Y2K trends, following on with the frosted lip. And I'm sorry, I don't like the way it looks. And the whole overlining as well, because now we're kind of overlining our lips. And so the overlining with a very dark liner and the frosted lips in the middle, I don't think it suits anyone. So sorry. One trend that I fell into maybe when I was a little bit older, maybe more like 16, 17 into my early 20s, was raccoon eyes. I would wear eyeliner, black eyeliner, all around my eye, sometimes even black eyeshadow, um, because that was the era of emo kids, Avril Lavigne. I was never like full on emo, but I was a little bit dark in that sense. I think we all were. And I was very much a fan of Avril Lavigne. So the whole like punk rock, pop, girly, yeah, that was very much in. So I adopted that with black eyeliner. I used my Rimmel eye kohl pencil. I remember it's like very vividly. That was my eye pencil for many years. I would smudge that all around my eye. I would wear like black or gunmetal eyeshadow, and I thought I was pulling it off. Yeah, I wasn't. Basically, I always had this idea again. we only had the advice of magazines and what our friends were doing. And I saw that everyone would line their eyes on the inside as well. So I lined my eyes on the inside. But for some reason, it never looked right on me and it still doesn't. I don't know if it's my skin color, with my eye color, with my eye shape. I don't know, but whenever I line the inside of my eyes, like my waterline, especially my lower waterline, I look extremely tired. I look like I've been punched. I look like a raccoon. I look horrible. I don't like the way it looks. It makes me look really, really tired. And I did that for years, thinking that was what I had to do. And now I see those photos. I will insert a photo of this because I do have a couple. I think that I'm on my own and I don't have to blur anyone out, and I'm okay sharing those. I was a little bit older in these photos. I think I was in university, maybe my first year, so I must have been around 18 or 19. I look so tired. I look hungover. I don't know. It doesn't look good at all. And I was there just like rocking this black eyeliner and black eyeshadow every single weekend, thinking it looked good. And it dragged down to here as well because the Rimmel eye pencil is not waterproof. And I didn't use primer or anything like that wasn't a thing back then. And so by, after a couple hours, my makeup was down here. And I looked so tired and I looked like I'd just woken up and slept in my makeup. I just thought I looked really cool. And right now I see those photos and I'm like, girl, where was your primer and why were you lining your lower lash line? However, I do think that there are certain eye shapes and certain eye colors that suit that kind of full on eyeliner very, very well. Mine is just not one of them. And it took me quite a few years to realize that that trend wasn't for me. Next, I want to talk about another foundation that had a massive chokehold on the YouTube community because this was something that really took off when I started watching YouTube. So YouTube came out in 2005 when I was 15, and there wasn't any beauty community at the time, but it started to build slowly. And I was watching sort of beauty gurus by 2008 or so, kind of the first ones that came out. I started watching those, and I remember that the Revlon ColorStay foundation became the foundation for everyone. So of course I went out and bought it, and this foundation was cement. I mean, I know they still make it. I don't know if the formula's changed at all, but back then it was so thick. It was a full coverage matte foundation, which I didn't really need because my skin was kind of okay by then. I didn't have a lot of acne or anything. But this foundation broke me out like crazy. It looked so obvious on my face. I would have a thick layer of foundation on because I would also put it on with one of these paint brushes, following the first kind of tips on how to put my foundation on. And also I had the shade issue where I could never buy it in Spain. I actually had to wait until I went to see my family in the UK to buy my shade. I would bring back a couple of bottles because I would also fly through them. I don't know what I was doing with this foundation, but I was flying through the bottles. So when I went over to the UK, I would buy 2 bottles of it in the shade Ivory, I believe. Ivory or Porcelain, I can't remember. It was one of the two, but I had to get them in the UK because in Spain, the shades started a lot further down. So yeah, that foundation, I can also still smell the way that foundation smelled. It was like paint. It smelled like paint. It was so full coverage, so thick. It didn't let my skin breathe at all. I would break out. It was just so bad for me. And I wore it every day. I wore it to class. I wore it going out, which had a really bad white cast, I remember. I wore it, for everything. Basically, I would wake up in the morning and I put my makeup on. I would put the Revlon ColorStay foundation on. It was so incredibly unnecessary because where was I going? Why was I wearing a full coverage foundation on every single day? Please tell me that you were around for that first era of YouTube beauty gurus and how they were all wearing the Revlon foundation. I also find it interesting that products became so viral because back then brands weren't putting money into this. They weren't sponsoring influencers, the word influencer didn't exist, but brands were not sponsoring YouTubers to talk about the Revlon ColorStay foundation. It was just kind of something that went viral on its own. And I don't understand. Where were we going that we needed this full coverage foundation on every single day? I don't understand. My last product that I want to mention, and this one's going to be a bit controversial, but hear me out, is the Urban Decay Naked Palette, the original. I remember when that came out that YouTubers were kind of talking about it, hyping it up, and I really wanted to get my hands on one. but I was a jobless student when it came out. So I had to save up a lot of money to buy it, and I did. When I heard that it was going to come out in Spain, I was really excited because we didn't usually get the releases of these kind of big products in Spain immediately. We usually had to wait quite a long time if they even came to Spain at all. So when I heard that they were actually releasing the Naked palette in Spain, I saved up my money and I bought it. And I actually bought one of the first ones, the ones that came with the double-ended pencil, not the brush. So I had like one of the first ones ever, and I used that thing to death. I used it to go out every weekend. I would sometimes wear eyeshadow to class just so I could use it. But all of the shades looked horrible on me. Like right now, looking back on it, all of the shades were way too dark, way too warm, way too muddy on me. I don't suit dark eyeshadow very well because my eyes are quite sunken in and I'm quite pale. And that's something that I've learned with the years. The same as with the dark eyeliner. Yeah, I don't suit those kind of very dark, smoky eye looks because they just look very, very obvious and very unnatural on me. Not that a smoky eye is supposed to look natural, but you know what I mean. It just doesn't look right on me. And I remember that I would use this, like, again, to go to uni. I was going to uni in a freaking gunmetal eyeshadow. Like, what was the point? I've kind of lost the appeal on eyeshadow palettes for a while now because most of them just don't look good on me, and I also do not wear eyeshadow enough to justify buying a palette. But back then, you know, the Urban Decay palette was just one of those first big viral products, and I had to get it. And looking back on it right now, I would not buy that because none of the shades suit me. I threw mine out in my last move 4 years ago. And it was a very hard decision because I didn't want to throw it out just for the nostalgia factor. I hadn't used it in years because with years I found out what kind of makeup suits me best. But I kept it all these years because of, you know, nostalgic factors. But finally, 4 years ago, when I moved into this house, I threw it out, and it was a very hard thing to do. I threw it out because it was disgusting. It looked horrible, and it was, I don't know if it was mold or what it was, but the packaging was also disgusting because it was this kind of velvety cardboard. It was cardboard covered in velvet, and I have two cats, so basically the whole velvet was destroyed and full of cat hair, and it was disgusting. And the eyeshadows in there had been very compromised for not storing my makeup palette very well. So I threw it out because I just thought it was the responsible thing to do. But I do kind of think of it sometimes as, you know, it was the first kind of big viral YouTube makeup product that I bought, and I kind of miss it sometimes. I hope you enjoyed this little cringy walk down memory lane to all of the terrifying products and trends that we used to embrace and wear so proudly. Let me know in the comments which trend or what you remember from that era that has that kind of chokehold on you. And let's share all of these horror stories because we've had to go through those to get to where we are now, where we're comfortable with what we have. Although I think teenagers have it really well now that they have all of these resources to learn and understand about skincare and makeup before they go out and buy stuff for the first time. I also kind of feel very happy that I lived in a time where none of that existed and we kind of just went on what we thought was good and what we could get our hands on without caring if it was a viral product or not. It was just what your friends used or what your mum used. That was the kind of virality that we leaned on, and it was a simpler time. And this makes me sound super old and boomer, but it was a simpler time, and it was a horrible time for other things, like, you know, body image in the 2000s was catastrophic. But at the same time, I had a lot of fun wearing these very unflattering products. So I'm happy I did, but I would never do it again because it gives me nightmares to think of that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments your kind of horrible trend from the 2000s, and I will see you in the next video.